Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Springfield. We'll get started in just a moment. As you join us on Facebook or on YouTube, I invite you to chat right into the comments or into the chat stream a good morning and maybe a note of blessing for people who join us today, or just let us know where you're chiming in from. And good morning. This is Reverend Jacquie Fernandez, and I am clearly streaming from my home this morning to provide a Sunday experience for Unity Spiritual Center in Springfield, Missouri. And since we are on Facebook and YouTube this morning, I know that people are chiming in from all over. So we get to experience today what we know is always true, is that there is no distance between us, that geographically we may experience physical distance, but we can come together through technology and in any moment through our heart space, because the heart knows no distance. And for this truth, we are so grateful. So good morning to you. This morning, we will have some music. We will have some daily word reading. We will have prayer, meditation, a message, and, some of the elements that we experience on a Sunday, so that we can try to have that routine and that normalcy and the comfort that we are used to getting when we come together and congregate on a Sunday morning. And especially in Unity communities, we are known for our hugs. And so let this be a hug fest from a distance. And so I just invite each of you to just center into that heart space and know the truth with me, that there is one power, one presence in the universe, and we call that power good. We call that power God, by whatever name you call it. It is in you, animating you through each moment, through this present experience of global pandemic, through each unique life walk, life journey, life path that we are each on. We are animated by the one holiness in the universe. And for this knowing, we are so grateful for the opportunity to convene together today. We are so grateful. And so it is. Amen. I would like to read to you, as some of you know, I work at Unity World Headquarters, and I'm in the communications department, the publishing department. I serve as director of multimedia services, and Reverend Ellen Davenport, who is author of Unity's 5 Principles, the book, The 5 Principles, and Hell in the Hallway, she sent out a little statement to our team that I say it's a little statement because it's brief, but it is powerful, and I want to share it with you. It just really grabbed my heart, and I think that you'll feel the same. Unity has carried on through 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, and yes, the Spanish flu epidemic, providing comfort, support, prayer, and inspiration for those who were in fear, grief, and doubt. We get to share a message about the true power of the human spirit, regardless of spiritual beliefs or labels, and it is deeply needed now. I believe this team is together at this time in history by what Unity would call divine appointment. I am grateful for each one of you and know we are about to do even greater things. And so, of course, she sent this out to our department, our communications department. But I'm just going to extend this blessing and these words of encouragement to each of us, because we are all here for such a time as this, each uniquely equipped in our own ways to serve the greater good. And we are being called to do so at a deeper level, deeper than probably most of us have experienced in our lifetime. So we are in this together, though separately, through social distancing and quarantine for some. And we know that some cities and some entire states are already on lockdown, and some will soon be going on lockdown. So, this is a tender time, and I am grateful for each of you for showing up this morning. You'll see my eyes kind of switch over because I'm going to look at our Facebook page to see if we have people joining us. And yes, we do. And I see a comment there. Hi, Jennifer. And, feel free to share this out on your Facebook profile so that other people can join us and feel the blessing and this connection that we will experience together today. So I'll have a little help this morning. And, Alexa will be cueing our music for us. And I have with me Tamie Rising, who is a spiritual coach here in the Kansas City area.
Sorry, and I'm not sure.
I said Alexa. She's not sure yet. That wasn't her cue. But it is the cue for Tamie Rising. She is, we are quarantined together. So I didn't bring someone in from the outside. We're quarantined together, and she's going to help us set some sacred space this morning by lighting of the Christ candle and reading of the daily word. Tamie Rising.
Hello, everyone. So I have the Christ candle here. I'm going to light it, representing the Christ light that lives in each of us, in you, and in me, in all of us, representing that light that connects us no matter where we are at this time. The daily word for tomorrow, March 23rd, 2020, is comfort. I am enfolded in the love and comfort of God. If I am feeling alone, I remind myself that God is always with me, and the divine presence from which I can draw guidance and strength. I need only turn my attention to God to feel surrounded by love and peace. I become quiet and reach deep within myself to find a connection with ever-present Spirit. There is only God. There is only this moment. Now I am ready to move forward with my day. I have all the strength and courage I need to do what is mine to accomplish. I have all the strength and courage I need. There may be moments when I feel tired and lonesome, but I know I can never be abandoned. The Spirit of God is always with me and around me. Love and comfort are mine always. For this truth, I am so grateful. In the scripture today, Psalm 23:4, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
Thank you, Tamie. So we're navigating a home studio space here. And I'm just going to invite Alexa to play There Is Only Love by Karen Drucker. Alexa, that was your cue. Alexa, play There Is Only Love by Karen Drucker.
There Is Only Love by Karen Drucker from Apple Music. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am. letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way.
And I want to invite you, as you're listening to the music, one of my favorite traditions at Unity Spiritual Center in Springfield is a moment that we take during the service to share good news. And can't we use some good news right now? So those of you who are watching, I invite you to type into the comments some good news that you experienced this week. And it can be, in your workplace, in your home, in the world. Just let's share some good news today.
Love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love.
Alexa, stop music. There we go. Okay. I think she got it that time. And so we're going to continue into the message. And the title of my talk today is Alexa. She's a little out of control. There's always one in the congregation, right? That's always calling out, always talking back to the minister. Today it's, what's her name that I'm not going to say. So today, I'm from home. I am completely dressed. I'm not doing the pajamas on the bottom and, church wear on the top. And my heart is just with you. And I've been thinking so much about you. And, we are all in this unprecedented circumstance together. Alexa, stop playing. There we go. We're all in this unprecedented time together. And it's a unique situation because we are actually, if we're doing it right, quite separate. And, this brings forward a lot for people. And as I was saying, the title of my talk today is Time to Flex. This is not a drill. And, what I mean is that it's time for us to flex our spiritual muscles. And, we are prepared for this. And I will say to varying degrees, right? Just like a marathon. And this is a marathon of sorts. And if you think of it in terms of scope and, scope and duration, that's what I'm looking for. It is a marathon of sorts. And, when people show up for a marathon, there are masses of people who have all been prepared and trained to varying degrees. Some are there to nail a world record. Some are there to just hit a personal record. Some are there just to get through it, just to walk it. Some are quite sure they aren't going to finish it, but to show up and give it a go is everything and is a personal goal. And so, we didn't sign up for this global pandemic. And we certainly, in different ways, might discover that we aren't trained in all of the proper ways. But what I do know is that we each have a spiritual muscle, and it is time to flex that, because though a marathon is, contingent upon duration and scope, the length of it and how many people show up for it, and then there is a certain duration, both of those elements are unknown for us right now. And that can be scary that can be terrifying. There are, small business owners that are not sure that they'll reopen when this is over. There are families who are shifting and changing as they would anyway, but because there is separation, we've seen in different cities where weddings and funerals are no longer being held. There are babies being born, and both parents can't be in the delivery room. There is a huge shift in what our day-to-day living experience is, and we didn't ask for it, we didn't plan for it, and for the most part, and it is upon us. And so what I do know is that we each have this spiritual muscle, and that it is going to be our hope and glory to get us through this experience. And that much I know. I can't sit here and really declare that I know much else. I know that there is one power, one presence in the universe, and we call that presence good. We call it God. There are many other names for that presence, and we honor those names as well. And we know that that power is animating us in and through each moment, and that we have spiritual strength. And what we call spiritual strength, as one of the 12 powers as taught by Charles Fillmore, is the power of endurance. Strength is endurance. And so it's not strength over other people or over our life experience, because we don't get choices in every matter, but it is the strength of endurance, of perseverance. And so I'm calling on this strength for each of us now. And, our scripture for today is from 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. The affirmation we're working with from the daily word, which is tomorrow's daily word, is I am enfolded in the love and comfort of God. And it's that power of love combined with the power of strength that I think is going to be our saving grace through this experience, through this collective experience. And, I want to, as I was thinking about love and the power of love, and people being quarantined together, and and even that just in and of itself, you see sort of this rhetoric on Facebook where you're like, whoa, our grandparents were called to war, and we're just being called to sit home and watch Netflix and chill, and that's sort of a romanticized distillation of the situation, and the sentiment is very real that there are harder things, and I'm sure there are some of you who can think of more difficult scenarios that you've had to navigate in your lifetime. But again, when I think of scope, and that we are all in this together, and that when you drive down the street in your town, that it may look like a ghost town when it is otherwise very busy and hustling and bustling. So there are different elements to this. And I think it's important to not make light of what it means to stay home, to shelter in place. For some people, the introverts to some degree might be celebrating and feeling like their time has come, and this is the heyday, and this is what they, revel in. And again, it's not that simple. We are not, we're more complex beings than that. There are people who are sheltered, quarantined or staying home, and the home is not a happy place. There are people who experience anxiety and depression on a regular basis, and are being challenged now. So all of those challenges that we experience on a regular basis are, in some ways amplified right now. There are people who have health needs and healthcare needs, and there are real questions about how or for how long they're going to be able to have their needs met. So I think it's really important to be tender with one another. And as I'm thinking of just the people I know being sort of homebound, and some homes are very happy and some are not. And so my heart just opens, and I invite, as we hear that affirmation, I am enfolded in the love and comfort of God. I invite each of us to expand our heart space, knowing that we each magnify the presence of God. And again, the heart knows no distance. So we don't need to be in the home of another. We don't need to be in the physical presence of another in order to impact the level of comfort and love that another person feels. And so I want, really just came to me is the love chapter in the Bible. And, this is read at so many weddings, and that's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And I just want to read it. So just settle in and take these words in. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. And if you skip down in the chapter just a little bit, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love. Those words really resonate with me right now. Love endures. So as we expand that heart space, I'm also sort of taken by this, when I was a child, I spoke like a child. And speaking of children, the schools are closed. And so I have 2 teenagers and a toddler in my home. And, and we are adjusting. And what came to me one evening after eating dinner is the teenagers are responsible for washing the dishes after dinner. And I'm thinking, maybe the toddler, who's almost 4, so she's, not 1, and we're not talking a 1-year-old here, we're talking a 3.5-year-old, that perhaps she could help by taking the plates from the table to the kitchen, and that would help her feel part of things. And she immediately protested. And, this is a child who often wears a cape, proclaims herself to be Spider-Man or Superwoman, not Supergirl, but Superwoman is the new thing. And, is constantly showing her muscles and talking about how strong she is. And she is very strong. And when I suggested that she take the plates to the kitchen, her immediate response was, oh, no, Superwoman doesn't carry plates. Superwoman isn't strong enough for that. Superwoman carries school buses and cars. Okay, so we're dealing with toddler logic here that, she's not reducing her strength. She's still capable of lifting school buses and cars, but cannot be bothered with plates, with dirty plates from the dinner table. And so this kind of drama ensued after that. So she wanted to demonstrate just how, incapable she was of lifting the plates. And I just want to share this video with you.
I can't.
You're not strong enough to pick up that plate?
No. I can't.
Let me see.
Look.
Looks like you got it.
I can't.
Take it to Jamie. Bring it closer to you. Bend your elbows and bring it closer to you.
I'm not super slow. Let me get.
Okay, so you see that she did, in the end, decide that she could indeed pick up the plate and carry it to the kitchen. But did you see the dramatics with that? And demonstrating over and over again. And, what that is resistance, right? She just didn't want to do the chore. And, and I'm thinking of all of us, in this time. I think there's a lot. I know I'm resisting. I'm an extrovert. I don't want to stay home, and so I'm looking for loopholes. How can I go to the park? What if I go to the grocery store and I wear gloves and I wear a mask, whatever. We're looking for the different ways of getting around what we are called to do right now. And so, with toddler logic, when we think like a child, we also might determine the limitations of our strength and our endurance according to what we want and what is easy. And right now we are in the midst of, a very serious time in which we're being called to do maybe that which is hard. Teachers are having to learn how to teach online in some school districts, and some are not going to get to teach at all for the rest of the school year. And that is extremely difficult, psychologically, emotionally, as well as, just academically for our students. And, being able to shift our thinking in these moments is going to be paramount to flexing that spiritual muscle, being able to shift our thinking into what we want our outcome to be. And so if we could imagine when this is over, if we could, and maybe that's April, let's think optimistically. Maybe it's May, maybe it's August. And I want to stop there because that's about as far as I can go personally, like, we're in this sort of state of emergency. And so we have to think of like what's in front of us. And then we want to think of endurance in terms of, what's the scope of this? How long is this going to go on? And so if we can just think of, let's call it June. What do we want to be thinking? How do we want to remember this time? What do we want to have been the outcomes when we find ourselves in June? So if we could imagine our future self, what do I want to have been? And, the first thoughts are like, I don't want any of this. I didn't want any of this. So if we're just talking about what I want, I don't want this. So let me add, given our current circumstances, because we can't change those. So given our circumstances, what do we want for June? And I'm thinking like immediately health, well-being, and that might include routine and connection, peace in my home, peace in my heart, peace in my mind. Anxiety sort of, kicks up, and that monkey mind can really take you down a fear trail. So if I'm looking back through this time, I would want to have thought, think about having gone through it in a peaceful way, in a loving way, in a way that makes me feel more connected to others in a deeper way. There's opportunity here to experience a stillness and a peace that because of the way our systems are structured, we don't get unless we, really kind of fight for it on the day to day. So if we really put ourselves, flex that power of imagination and put ourselves in the future and look back, then we can sort of look at how we're going to get through this for that outcome. So if I want a peaceful outcome, if I want to find myself in June having experienced peace and love in my home, then what am I going to do today to create that reality? So in that way, we get to find choice. We get to experience our choice in this experience. And then we get to act and live into that choice. And so the resistance that we were feeling can dissolve in those moments. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to lose my business. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my income. I don't want my children to miss out on, the end of school events. I don't want, my daughter to miss out on, her extracurricular activities and, goals that they've set for themselves. I don't want, performing artists everywhere to be out of work. But in the midst of all of this, what do I want? What can I step into? How can I find that flow of harmony and of divine order? Because that can be a tricky word, right? That plays tricks on our minds of what is divine order. So if I'm going to create divine order in and through this, I can always, always, always begin by centering into love. Love endures. So I just want to take a breath, and I'm going to invite us into a meditative experience, a meditation. And so if you, I'm hoping you're already comfortable, but just find yourself comfortable. And if you're able to really put your feet on the floor, it's such a good grounding practice. And, put a pillow. I got a pillow under me. Find a pillow. Put your arms in your lap or to your side, whatever's comfortable for you. If you want to do prayer position or hands on your heart, whatever feels good. It's really just okay. It's perfect. And I just invite you to close your eyes, close the outer eyes, and open the inner eye to the vast expanse of the universe that is always living, moving, and having its very being in and through you. And take a deep breath in. And exhale. And again, in. And exhale. And so we find stillness in our bodies. We know that life is flowing and coursing through our veins, through our cells, through our soul. But we experience the stillness. And in some cases, the stillness can bring fear, but we just allow the fear to dissipate, because when we invite love in, when we invite hope in, fear has no dominion and has no place. It simply dissipates. And so we are not wrong for feeling fearful. We are not wrong for feeling resistance. But we need only meet those experiences with love, with hope, with faith. As we are facing a time that is largely unknown, in some cases, moment by moment, day by day, we can always come back to this centering place where love endures, where we are enfolded in the love and the comfort of God, where we are connected always, always and only together in oneness. And when we tap into that truth and into that knowing, then we can allow our collective spiritual power, our collective spiritual acumen to come forward and serve us in and through this difficult time. So knowing this truth, even if we don't know the how, we just simply know what is. Let's ask the question, what do I want? My future self, when this is over, what do I want? Who do I want to have been through this experience? What words would I have wanted to have said? What thoughts would I have wanted to hold in mind? And just breathe into the silence and allow the answers to flow, whatever they may be. And let's take another breath together. And for this stillness, we give thanks for the opportunity to touch it, the stillness together, even from physical distance. We give thanks for love that prevails, for love that abides. We give thanks. And for one another, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen. This is a time when we're being called to cultivate that inner stillness, that we may flex our spiritual muscles. And so I just invite you to continuously do that for yourselves and gently invite your loved ones into that same space. We are so much better together than we are apart. And right now we have to redefine what it means to be together. And we can do this. We've so got this. We've so got it. So that concludes my message. And we just have a few more things that we want to do to sort of, have that Sunday experience together. Normally we would go into our love offering time together right now. And so we're having to do that from a distance, to practice from a distance, to practice our prosperity, our abundance, to be in the flow of that as well. And so I just invite you, maybe not right now, but later, to go to unityspiritualcenter.net, and you can give online. And so I just want to bless the gifts that you will be giving, that you have given, knowing that they truly are blessed and go into the world, carrying the unity sentiment of oneness, the unity knowing of truth, that we are all always held in the loving, tender arms of Spirit. And so we bless those gifts. Amen and amen. And we would always close our Sunday experiences with a blessing of the children. And so I want to do that now. And so I want you to think of the young people in your lives, those who are near, those who are far, and just hold them in your mind's eye, those who are part of your spiritual community, your extended families, maybe your neighbor children, and to really hold them in mind. There was a time when we all felt like a child, and we have come into adulthood, which is a more mature way of thinking and experiencing life. But there is also that childlike imagination of which we could draw from, right? And so I'm going to invite little Maddie Rose, who is Superwoman, Spider-Man, Elsa, to come here. Yes, come here, Maddie, and say hi. And we're going to just say the prayer for protection for our children everywhere and for one another, knowing that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us. Show me your muscles. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. And because God is, all is well. And we have a variety of kisses around here. So we're going to close with Sacred Love by Daniel Nahmod. Alexa, play Sacred Love by Daniel Nahmod.
Sacred Love by Daniel Nahmod from Apple Music.
Blow that
There we
candle
go. Let's turn that up.
out. Blow that candle
Thank you
out.
for joining us. You can stay online and listen to this song. I'm going to put a slide up. I'll put our affirmation up from today. And
Will they blow candle out?
you can blow the candle out. Maddie will blow out the Christ candle, and I invite you to say, good job. I invite you to include your prayer request in the comment section as well, knowing that the chaplains are continuing to hold you in prayer. And from the board at Unity Spiritual Center of Springfield, they thank you for your patience and understanding through this unique and challenging time. We want to thank Reverend Eleanor, who has been providing inspirational messages and personally contacting a lot of you during this time. In addition to today's service, we are working on bringing you recorded services, meditations, and music. We are holding all of you in light and love and affirming we will be seeing you in person and soon. Blessings to you.
Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state. Lead the way, God, lead the way.
Bear, Pikachu. Why can't you see? Let's go sit on your back.
Here, you can sit down.
You can push.
We'll say hi. We'll say
Hello.
There's Bear.
Bless.
Blessings for you and your family. Have a beautiful Sunday.